Greetings. It is 7:50 on February 28th. Closing out this long day. Had to ride around to get it today, I promise you that. Woo! From McDonald's to Norcross. Been getting it. But anyway, so I want to talk about relationships, and I wanted to talk about legalism in relationships. I wanted to talk about some points that make or break relationships, and I wanted to highlight examples of legalism and people taking advantage of situations. And I don't want to dwell on narcissism and empaths as much as I want to talk about imbalance and unrealistic conditions that we place on each other. So I would like to say, if you are legalistic, you will not be in a relationship for long. Okay, so what does legalistic mean? It means that I got to be right all the time. I was listening to Bishop Jakes on a sermon he said updated, and I'll post it in the description, which reminds me I got to go update the previous message I put out. But anyway, he said, do you want to be right, or do you want to be in a relationship? And I said, wow, that reminds me of so much legalism. And it's just so important not to be unequally yoked with unbelievers, people who don't believe like you, think like you. I mean, they're unequally yoked. It just causes a whole bunch of confusion. So, okay, let's look at it like this. If I say tomato and you say tomato, and you correct me and say it's tomato, but you know we talking about the same thing, what's the big difference? What's the big deal? Is it gonna matter in the next 5 minutes? No. If I say gray and you correct me and call it pewter, and this is an ongoing thing on a regular basis, you don't want to be in a relationship long, because that can come off as condescending. It can come off as you don't care about me as much as you care about your control, your need to be right, your need to correct everybody, and that's not a safe space to communicate. That's not a safe space for anybody to feel any comfort. When you're in a relationship, you're supposed to be with somebody who is really there for you. I mean, it's not just physical intimacy, and it seems like that's what it boils down to on with certain in these days. I am so disappointed in some of these pastors who have been married for several years, who did not go through this perfect strategy, well, perfect plan of getting married, went through struggles, and 30, 40, 50, 20, however many years later, they still married, and they're still working on their marriage, and they're still growing in their marriage. And I realized that a lot of times people put so many conditions on, well, if you do this, then this. If you do this, then this. The Bible doesn't say nothing about if then, especially in the New Testament. In the Old Testament, under the law, it says if then, if you obey my commands. But that's the only if. If you obey God, you get the goods. And the only if is, if you marry, then you should do these things. Do. You marry, you say I do. So what do you do when you commit to saying I do? Or do you commit to the conditions of I'll forgive you if you meet these for sale points to buy my forgiveness, which ain't forgiveness at all. Because if you're perfect, then why do you serve a perfect God? That means you God. It's amazing how people get so caught up in a legalism and they're need to have grace, mercy, and truth, but don't want to give it. They're stickler about, well, you can't text and drive while I'm driving, but I'm going to text and drive. I mean, you can't text and drive while you're driving, but I'm going to text and drive when I'm driving. Hey, what? You putting my life in danger? No. Why they do that at? If I even look at the phone, you tripping, but you can just sit up there and tell me to eat it? Oh, go somewhere, please. Please go somewhere with that. Nobody's trying to listen to all that. I'll tell you, it amazes me how we put so many conditions on relationships, and so many people out here who are hurt some really good people that have just a sincere love energy and give it to these certain people. And maybe we wrong for who we pick, but it's like, geez, does love really work? And then how long do we suffer? I mean, because it says, you know, love suffers long, 1 Corinthians 13. How long do we suffer? Do we suffer all our life for this commitment? Just to say death do us part? I don't know. I mean, I've seen God run people away during my long suffering in relationships in the past. And I've seen God show me why he told me not to be with a person from the jump. And I've seen him keep me in a situation where he's like, it's not over. I need you to stay right here. I need you to be faithful and believing. I need you to keep the door open for this situation and work it out. So all I can say is, if you don't have a relationship with God, you'll keep making the mistake of picking the wrong person. You'll keep doing the wrong thing. And you won't have enough love for yourself to be able to deal with some of the adversities that we're all going to face in relationship. Conflicts are always going to rise. Adversities are always going to rise, whether in relationships, in situations that you deal with in life, just whatever. So your relationship with God is loving God first, then yourself, and then extending that love, that overflow of love from God to other people. So please, 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 please love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your strength, and all your mind. Then love your neighbor as yourself. But don't keep putting conditions on relationships. Do the do's and you will get the results that you desire. Don't keep nitpicking a person over little ticky-tacky stuff that really doesn't matter at the end of the day. If a person is not being mean to you, is not abusing you, and you chose this person to say that this is who you want to be in your circle, however you want to translate that, then guess what? Do the do's. Appreciate them. Stop magnifying differences and recognize what the person is bringing to the table. Love the person. Show them some grace and mercy. Let's understand what grace is. Grace is unmerited favor. It is me doing something for you that you don't deserve. Mercy is, okay, you just made me upset, but I'm not going to go off on you. I'm not going to give you what you deserve, because you deserve for me to leave your butt and kick you out my car and keep rolling. But the mercy is, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to drop you off at home. And, you know, whatever happens after that. But that, you know, just to give you an example of mercy. Forgiveness is saying, I'm not going to keep beating you up over the head about a situation that happened. I am going to let it go. I'm not going to keep bringing it up. I am going to treat you as if it never happened. Now, memory forgetting, it is best to forget about it, but sometimes it's hard to forget about it, especially if a person is repeating the same thing. But the key thing is walking in love and treat the person as if it didn't happen. Okay? I understand we go through traumatic things and we can get triggered to remembering it, but we must make a conscious effort to say, I'm going to love you anyway. Now, forgiving a person doesn't mean that you have to keep them in your circle. Now, certain things is saying, hey, we need to separate. You know, if you are violating me and being, you know, abusive, sometimes it's just best to say, hey, look, I'm done with this and move on. But if it's something like I said, let me think of a lame example. I said that you work at the bank, but you actually work at Walmart, or I mean, you know, just something, and it triggered something because somebody else works at the bank and it made a sore spot. Then, you know, we should forgive that. I mean, nobody's trying to be mean, you know. And even if somebody is trying to be mean, some things you just need to forgive and let go and just recognize. I love the person enough to recognize their intention is not malice. They did something, you know, they responded hurt, there was a trigger, we had an argument, words were said, whatever. I mean, either you want to be together or not. And I'm not saying be with somebody, and I know it can sound confusing, but I'm not saying be with somebody who is regularly, intentionally malicious. No. But I am saying that sometimes we got to show a lot more God to get a lot more God in our relationship. Meaning, we need to show a little bit more love in the relationship so that those seeds of love can take root and harvest. If you're not seeing improvement, then move on. But if you're seeing improvement and people are trying, you know, versus making this excuse to just, you know, go off all the time, then move on. If nobody's trying to improve, that's when you move on. But when people are working toward, you know, you see somebody catching themselves, see somebody setting up boundaries and say, hey, let me take a break so that I don't have to, you know, say something out the way. Or a person apologizing for something that they did wrong. And even if they did it wrong, they didn't do it as wrong as they did the last time. There's improvement. That's when you hold on to somebody. Somebody who accepts that you can do wrong, and I'm still there. I choose to love you. I choose to be around you. We so quick to throw people away sometimes. And, I mean, if you're not supposed to be with a person, that's something different. But when you notice God is on your side in a relationship, why do you keep fighting? Like, for real, why do you keep fighting? Where are you supposed to be? Work to improve. Work to be better. Learn yourself. Learn your triggers. And do the do's in relationships. Balance. Oh. Balance yourself out. Like, for real, balance yourself out. Eat right. Get all the lurking variables out of the situation. Take care of your health. If you're not healthy, how can you be in a healthy relationship? For real. How can you be in a healthy relationship? So, and don't listen to these pastors talking about if you do this, then in relationships. No, you do your part. Stop worrying about what the other person do. Okay? If you've been around a person long enough to say, hey, look, this is where I want to be, then, you know, put enough energy in it so that something can come about it. Something can manifest. So, do you want to be together or not?